The bright lights of Manhattan seemed to shine a little less brightly on Andrew Collins that evening. At 52 years old, he was a man many envied, powerful, accomplished, and wealthy. From the outside, his life appeared flawless. A penthouse overlooking the city, a thriving business, and a wife who was the picture of elegance. But sometimes, appearances lie. As Andrew stepped into the building's lobby, his polished shoes clicking against the marble floor, there was something different in his demeanor. He adjusted his silk tie with precision, exchanged pleasantries with the doorman, and entered the elevator. But behind his composed exterior was a man wrestling with thoughts no one could see, questions about his wife, his business, and the life he had built. What Andrew didn't know was that the ordinary rhythm of his evening would soon be shattered. A warning was coming, delivered by the most unexpected of messengers, a boy waiting just beyond the lobby doors. What could a child possibly want with one of the most powerful men in the city? And why would his words change everything? This is the story of betrayal, danger, and a decision that could mean life or death. For Andrew Collins, the night was just beginning, but it would be one he would never forget. The lobby was quiet that night, save for the soft hum of distant street traffic. As Andrew crossed the familiar space, he noticed something unusual. Near the entrance, a boy sat. His clothes were dirty, his hair untamed, and his gaze fixed on the doorway. It was a stark contrast to the polished luxury that surrounded him. Roger, the doorman, hesitated as Andrew approached. "He's been here for hours," Roger explained, "said he needed to speak with you." Andrew frowned, his curiosity piqued, and walked toward the boy. The child looked up, his eyes filled with an urgency that made Andrew pause. "You don't know me," the boy began, his voice steady but cautious. "But I need to tell you something. Your wife? She's in trouble, and so are you." Andrew's expression hardened. "What are you talking about?" he demanded. The boy continued, unflinching. "I heard her talking to a man, a technician. They were planning something with the elevator, something meant to hurt you." The weight of those words hit Andrew like a blow. A boy he didn't know, delivering a warning he didn't want to believe. Was this child lying? Or was there something more to his story? Minutes later, Andrew's suspicions began to take root. He called the police, unwilling to dismiss the boy's warning. Within the hour, technicians arrived, their tools clinking as they dismantled the elevator's control panel. The silence in the lobby was deafening as the lead technician held up a damaged cable. "This wasn't an accident," he said, his voice grim. "The cables were deliberately cut, weakened just enough to fail at the right moment." Andrew's mind raced. Who would want to harm him, and why? His thoughts turned to his wife, Anna. Could she truly be involved? Or was there someone else pulling the strings? As the investigation unfolded, the questions only grew, and Andrew was forced to confront a truth he wasn't ready to face. For Andrew Collins, the elevator was no longer just a convenience. It had become a weapon, and someone had aimed it at him. Inside the interrogation room, the tension was unbearable. Andrew sat across from Anna, his eyes fixed on the woman he once trusted above all else. She looked down, avoiding his gaze, her hands trembling as she clutched her purse like a lifeline. Finally, she spoke. "I planned everything," Anna admitted, her voice cracking under the weight of her words. "I thought you were cheating on me." She explained how a private investigator had shown her photos, messages, proof, or so she believed, of Andrew's betrayal. "I didn't want to kill you," she whispered. "I just wanted you to feel the pain I was feeling." Andrew leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. The woman he loved, manipulated into turning against him, had nearly taken his life. The betrayal was almost too much to bear. But as he sat there, he realized her pain was as real as his own, and someone else had orchestrated this chaos. The clues began to surface, piece by piece. It was Pedro who first noticed the cracks. The boy had been watching Jax, Andrew's business partner, and something wasn't right. Jax was too composed, too deliberate in his movements, as if he were walking through a script only he understood. Pedro recounted overhearing a phone call. Jax's voice low and tense. "It has to look like an accident," Jax had said. "Nothing can come back to me." The words were chilling and their meaning was clear. Jax had been pulling the strings, manipulating Anna and orchestrating the sabotage to remove Andrew from the equation. Andrew's suspicions hardened into certainty. Jax wasn't just a partner in business. He had become an enemy, willing to go to unimaginable lengths to seize control. The confrontation came late one night, in the quiet of Andrew's apartment. Jax arrived, his usual confidence masking a subtle unease, but Andrew was ready. "Why did you do it?" Andrew asked, his voice low but steady. Jax feigned confusion, but the facade didn't last. As Andrew pressed, Jax finally cracked. "I needed you out of the way," Jax admitted, his tone sharp with bitterness. "The company needs someone who can take risks, someone like me." Andrew's anger boiled over. "You manipulated Anna, sabotaged the elevator, and tried to kill me, all for power?" he demanded. Jax's reply was cold, unapologetic. "Business isn't for the weak," he sneered. But Jax wasn't done. As Andrew confronted him, Jax reached into his jacket, pulling out a gun. Before he could act, Pedro emerged from the shadows, moving with surprising speed. The boy knocked the gun from Jax's hand, and Andrew seized the moment, pinning Jax against the wall. Moments later, the sound of sirens filled the night. The police arrived and Jax was led away in handcuffs, his arrogance replaced with quiet defeat. Andrew turned to Pedro, his voice heavy with gratitude. "You saved my life," he said. And for the first time in a long while, Andrew felt a flicker of hope. The police moved swiftly, their presence bringing an end to the chaos. Jax, once so composed and confident, was now cuffed and escorted out of Andrew's apartment. His defeat was written across his face, the weight of his betrayal finally catching up to him. Andrew stood in silence, watching the man he once called a friend disappear into the night. In the quiet that followed, Andrew turned to Pedro. The boy, still catching his breath, held the composure of someone far beyond his years. Andrew's gratitude was unspoken but unmistakable. Pedro had done more than save his life. He had exposed the cracks in a world Andrew thought was unshakable. As the days passed, Andrew's appreciation for Pedro deepened. He couldn't let the boy return to the life he had come from, not after what he had done. One morning, Andrew sat Pedro down and spoke with sincerity. "You've changed my life," he said. "Now it's my turn to change yours." Andrew arranged for Pedro to have a home of his own, a place where he could feel safe and cared for. He promised him an education, access to opportunities, and a chance to create a future filled with possibilities. Pedro, though hesitant at first, began to adjust to this new chapter in his life. The boy who had once been unnoticed in the shadows of the city now had a seat at the table of a brighter future. Andrew, too, found a renewed sense of purpose, realizing that redemption wasn't just for himself, but for Pedro as well. In the quiet moments that followed, Andrew often found himself reflecting. Pedro's courage had not only saved his life, but also revealed the strength that can emerge from the most unexpected places. Through betrayal and danger, a bond had formed, built on trust and gratitude. This story is a reminder of the power of small acts of bravery and the way they can ripple through our lives, transforming them in ways we never imagined. As Andrew and Pedro moved forward, they carried with them a lesson that hope can rise even in the darkest times and that kindness has the power to heal even the deepest wounds. If this story moved you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more narratives that inspire and remind us of the resilience of the human spirit. Together, we can share these moments and keep the light of hope alive.